Welcome to Not Your Status Quo's Captain Marvel theories. And remember, if you like what you see, please like the video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell to be notified of future videos.
Higher, further, faster, baby.
Characters in the movie. Jude Law plays Jan-Rog. At first, when we saw the previews and heard about him, I thought he was going to be Mar-Vell. And
I think a lot of people thought he was going to play Mar-Vell.
Yeah, it seemed logical. But now they've seen the previews where he's training her, and he's the leader of Star Force. Jan-Rog, that is. And, he turns out to be the main... I don't know if he is in this movie or if he's going to, but he's a main nemesis for Captain Marvel, the original Captain Marvel.
I think we'll definitely see him turn from ally to enemy sometime within this movie. I think that's definitely going to happen within this first Captain Marvel movie, without a doubt.
Yeah, I agree.
And then next we got Ben Mendelsohn as Talos. In the comics, Talos is not a shapeshifter, but he is in this movie, at least starting. Maybe something happens with Talos where he loses that ability to shapeshift, and that's where he's outed. Not sure how that's all going to play out, but from some of the early reviews, we're hearing that he
He's incredible.
Is just great. He's one of the best in the movie, so I'm definitely looking forward to his role in this film.
And also, Annette Bening, plays the Supreme Intelligence, and I've heard her call her or refer to her as a motherly figure in the previews. She's the Supreme Intelligence, which is a collective of all the Kree intelligence, which makes her smart, obviously, than anyone else. And I was discussing with Keith before the video, maybe she's there in that form as Annette Bening to guide her to where she needs to be within the Kree.
Oh, right. Appears a motherly figure to Carol because obviously it seems like she's lost her memories. Well, I think we're pretty sure she's lost her memories. Mm-hmm. So be that motherly figure to guide her into her role as a Kree warrior and a part of Star Force. So I think that's definitely something that's happening. And then finally, welcoming back Lee Pace as Ronan.
Yes.
So I'm excited to have him back. He was great in Guardians of the Galaxy as Ronan. And, we know that this is probably going to be him being a zealot against Xandar.
Yeah, this is good, 18, 20 years before anything that happened in Guardians of the Galaxy. So, yeah, we're going backwards as far as character development, but I like to see how somebody, they go back and develop into who they became.
Maybe we'll see something in this film, why Ronan kind of broke away from the Kree and became this zealot. I don't know if we're going to see Xandar in this film, or maybe a Nova Corpsman like Richard Rider, but we could see something in here as to why he heads down that path. And that would definitely be interesting to see.
A race of noble warriors.
Heroes. Noble warrior heroes.
So do you think the Tesseract will be in this movie, for one, or how big of a role it will play?
I do think the Tesseract is going to be in this movie, and I think that because, I think what's going to happen, we're going to find out, is that Howard Stark finds it. Well, we know Howard Stark found it. While searching for Captain America, we know that to be true. And S.H.I.E.L.D's kind of having it, and they're testing it, and that's what's going to bring the Skrulls to Earth, because they want that power. Mm-hmm. They've obviously heard about the Infinity Stones. I would assume they have in the comics, so I'm going to make that assumption here. And they come to Earth and infiltrate S.H.I.E.L.D. to get their hands on it. That's why Talos is a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, which first the Skrulls and then Hydra. Mm-hmm. I think S.H.I.E.L.D. needs to up their security a little bit.
He is actually going to play Nick Fury's boss.
Yes.
The original director of S.H.I.E.L.D.
So we know that they've infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D., and I'm going to guess it's because they're trying to get their hands on the Tesseract. And that's what's going to bring the Kree to Earth, or at least Carol Danvers, to when she hears that they're on Earth and invading, to help save the day. And I just thinking this is what's going to turn her against the Kree also, because the Kree are going to find out about the Tesseract, and they're going to want it also. And she doesn't want either party to have it. She thinks it's in better hands with her or the humans, and she obviously leaves it with Fury. So that's how I think the Tesseract is going to play a role. It's what's going to bring these powers to Earth, and what brings Captain Marvel or Carol Danvers back to Earth to stop the Skrulls.
And my guess is, too, that when she does come back here, that's when we've seen in the previews where she regains her earthly memories.
You know how to fly this thing?
We'll see.
That's a yes or no question.
Yes.
More theories. Do you think that there will be a Kree Sentry involved?
I do. I think it's going to show up kind of near the end of the movie when Carol, we'll probably hear about them earlier on, but maybe not see it, but when Carol turns against the Kree, I think Von Rog or Jan Rog is going to send one after her. And it's going to be kind of that main boss battle at the end of the movie. And once she defeats that, she's going to push both the Kree and the Skrull away from Earth and keep the Tesseract with S.H.I.E.L.D.
Control it.
So one character that has been like in the comics and never really entered into the MCU yet, but does have a direct connection to this movie is Rick Jones. What do you think kind of roles he's going to have, if any?
You know, I'm kind of shocked that Rick Jones has not showed up in the MCU yet, because he does play such a big role in a lot of these big comic series, and one of them being the Kree-Skrull War. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why we're going to see him. I don't know if he's going to appear anything outside of this, but I definitely think we're going to meet Rick Jones, whether that's Hunter Parrish, who we know is in the film, who we haven't heard who he's playing yet, or he's going to play something else, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I think without a doubt, Rick Jones is going to show up.
Another character we haven't seen is in the cosmic realm. Well, they're just starting with it, but Quasar?
Well, we know that the Tesseract was kept at Project Pegasus from the beginning of the Avengers film. Quasar, or I should say Wendell Vaughn, was the head of security at Project Pegasus until he gained his Quasar powers. And so I do think he's going to show up. Once again, Hunter Parrish could be playing... He looks an awful lot like Wendell Vaughn. So I do think he's going to be playing Wendell Vaughn, who turns into Quasar in this movie, and he probably helps out Captain Marvel at some point to help battle both the Kree and the Skrull. Now, I think they're going to do it for a couple reasons. Have him in the past is because there's been a couple different characters who have held the mantle of Quasar, Protector of the Universe. So if he's Quasar in the past, it opens up to different Quasars that could maybe join the Guardians of the Galaxy in the current timeline of the MCU. But I definitely think Quasar is showing up, or at least Wendell Vaughn.
So we can have a Quasar, becomes a popular character. Yeah, they could have a trilogy for them,
or her,
or and throw some Nova in there.
Yeah, and we know that the MCU is going to start getting a little more cosmic, and Quasar, as Protector of the Universe, is probably about as cosmic as you can get of a Marvel character.
Aren't you the cutest little thing? Aren't you cute? And what's your name, huh?
Fury.
Another thing in this movie you can see, I think it's personally going to be also an origin story for Coulson and Nick Fury. And obviously Nick Fury in this movie, as we've seen in the previews, he's got a little scar up here, but he has both of his eyes. And as he mentioned in
Winter
Soldier, the last time he trusted someone, he lost an eye. So is he going to lose his eye in this movie? And who did he trust?
I think he is going to lose his eye in this movie. And I think it is going to be Goose the Cat. And I think that I have one theory I don't think is going to be true. I thought Goose the Cat was going to be a Skrull and eventually take its form and take out Fury's eye when it can. But with all of the sort of advanced screenings saying Goose the Cat steals the show, I don't think it's going to be a Skrull. But I do think, I was kind of hoping it'd be a Skrull, because then we could get into comics, Carol's cat is named Chewie. So if Goose was a Skrull, we could then get Chewie as her cat post this first movie. But I don't think that's going to be the case, because if the cat steals the show, it's not going to be a Skrull that tears out Fury's eye. But it still can tear out his eye, because Chewie in the comics is not a cat, but a Flurkin, who is like this cosmic entity that can open up these massive portals to another region through its mouth and stuff. And it may accidentally take out Fury's eye and not do it on purpose, but Fury's still mad about it. And that's why he trusted the cat and probably won't trust the cat anymore.
And so you're talking about the cat that's in the preview?
Yes.
All right.
Prove you're not a Skrull.
That's a photon blast.
And?
A Skrull cannot do that.
I'm just supposed to take your word for that.
Obviously, Skrulls are a big part of this movie, obviously. I think it's going to be based on a big part of this, Skrulls wanting Earth as a what do they call it?
A colonized world.
Yeah, they just want it for themselves. It's like a cornerstone of what civilization. And so they obviously would have sent people here already to, maintain this world and see what it's all about. I think a Skrull could be Captain America. He was buried under the ice for 70 years. It'd be easy to swipe him out and have nobody have any, knowledge of, the change. But obviously you have different theories than I do, so let's hear it.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's going to be any of the main Avengers. They've had movies, we've grown to love them. If they turned out Captain America was a Skrull, I think everyone would be pretty heartbroken. So I don't think any of the main Avengers are going to be. And I also, the way I see it more as a post-credit scene, revealing someone as a Skrull, because I think they're going to come to Earth. You know, they're a huge, proud alien race. They think we're just some backwater planet. And when they come and try to take the planet with force and get pushed away, that's when they're going to change their tactics and they're going to start a secret type invasion. For those of you who know the Secret Invasion comic book, they start placing themselves in major roles. So the two I think are going to turn out to be Skrulls, and I think probably in a post-credit scene or maybe in Avengers Endgame. First one being General Ross, because we saw him in the Incredible Hulk. He like kind of had a change of heart at the end of that movie and wanted the Hulk to stop the Abomination, and he was always trying to recreate the super soldier serum to get another Steve Rogers. And then when he comes back in Civil War, he's kind of post superhumans. He wants to control them. He gets the Accords together. He wants to limit their powers and what they do and know what they're doing at all times, as a Skrull might do. He wants to keep tabs on these superhumans that may be able to stop the invasion.
Maybe he had when that heart attack you mentioned, maybe he actually died and the Skrull took over.
Absolutely.
I like
and he becomes Secretary of State as a Skrull because he knows that's where he's going to have more power and more influence to push the Skrull way. And then the other one I think is going to be a Skrull is Rhodey.
Rhodey. Interesting.
Because, well, one, they changed actors after Iron Man 1 to 2. And that's not why they're going to do it. I know why they did it. But I think that is going to be, once again, he's in the military. He's a high-ranking military person. He kept close to the Avengers, but not super close. He just was that sort of peripheral friend, but he is super close to Tony Stark. And that's going to be, you know, like the last straw that kind of breaks Iron Man down. When he finds out that his best friend has been a Skrull since, you know, after he made this suit, I think that's going to have a dramatic effect on him, and maybe why he steps down as Iron Man after, if he stays alive after Endgame. He's going to step down as Iron Man. He may pop up in the movie, but that's going to be the thing that sort of breaks his spirit, and we see him step down as Iron Man.
This war is just the beginning.
So where's Captain Marvel been since the 90s? Did she just say, hey, you can, I'm going to be in outer space, you can reach me by using this silly 90s device? What happened?
You know, I've thought about this a lot, and the only thing that I can think that kind of makes sense but doesn't really make sense 100% is she is sent as a liaison for Earth to keep peace or keep the Kree and the Skrull in line. She's obviously extremely powerful. We see her go binary in the
Preview.
Trailer, right. So she's extremely powerful. So maybe she's sent as part of a galactic group that's keeping peace within the galaxy, maybe keeping people away from Earth. I don't know. And that's why she's away, and she knows before she leaves, she's like, obviously the 90s, and that souped up pager that Fury has is the only way to connect, you know, call her out. And, you know,
Hey, Thanos is here. You probably know who he is.
Is this?
The SHIELD logo.
Does announcing your identity on clothing help with the covert part of your job?
Said the space soldier who was wearing a rubber suit.
So there's 2 post-credit scenes. I have a theory on what the second one could be. What do you think the first one is?
I definitely think it's going to be someone revealed as a Skrull. I think it's going to be General Ross, but if it's not Ross or Rhodey, whoever it is going to be revealed, and that's going to lead into the Secret Invasion storyline that I think is going to be interwoven into Phase 4. What do you think the second one? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. What I was going to agree with you on that, how a Secret Invasion could be like, you know how they're supposed to take the Dark Phoenix and just sprinkle it in there like they're not doing over at Fox, and that, you know, that's a different thing. But they could just sprinkle this into all their Phase 4 movies and then have it, you know, all come together at some point. I think that would be awesome. My theory on the second one would be like she's in outer space, she's doing what she's doing, and it could be a very short scene, and she just, where she gets notified from Nick Fury, she gets the page. She could be like we were saying, you know, beating the crap out of a Skrull, all of a sudden they disappear, you know, because of the snap, and then she gets the page and she's like, all right, it's time to go. What do you think?
No, I think that's a good theory. I also think, and I think this is highly unlikely, but I think it would be cool if, because there's a lot of theories out there that Fury knows that the snapping is coming, if you want to call it that. And I think we may have, Carol is in the SHIELD office, Fury is sitting there, Scott Lang walks in. The last we saw of Scott Lang, he was in the quantum realm. We know about the time vortexes there. Somehow he shows up in the 90s, gets hooked up with S.H.I.E.L.D. Hank Pym's maybe there, Scott Lang. That's why Hank Pym reaches out to Scott Lang to take his suit in the first Ant-Man. And that's how they find out that something is going to go down at this point in time. They maybe not know exactly what it is, but they know it's major. And Captain Marvel knows when this happens, Fury's going to hit that pager, and she better hightail it back to Earth.
Try to keep up.